Tēnā koutou katoa, and hello everybody. Welcome to the Lentil Intervention Podcast. My name is Ben Adelberg and I'm coming to you from Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. Tēnei ka mihi ke te mana, Whenua o Aotearoa, and we acknowledge the local tribal authorities of New Zealand.
And g'day, I'm Emma Strutt and I'm currently coming to you from Darrinbal country in Queensland. And before we dive into our conversation today, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community.
The Lentil Intervention is an Australasian educational and advocacy platform dedicated to raising awareness about the current climate and health crisis.
And on this podcast, we invite guests to chat about topics that will inspire you to take action to improve your own health and the health of the planet.
So please subscribe to and share this podcast and visit our website for the full show notes.
And don't forget to buy us a coffee if you'd like to support our work.
Being in our third season, we're in the fun position of being able to have return guests. Now, we have already done this with Dr. Mike Joy, of course, and on the quiet, he'll be back again later this year as, well, I think I'll say enough there. But our next guest has been incredibly busy since our last chat, and if you follow him on the socials, you'll certainly agree. So, time for a catch-up.
Yeah, so today we are so lucky to be sitting down for chat number 2 with environmental advocate, photographer and self-proclaimed nature frother, Geoff Reid. We first caught up with Geoff all the way back in season 1, episode 25, so check that one out as well, please. But since then, Geoff has been super busy with a number of projects, including a very special one that will be launching into the world on the 18th of October this year. Geoff is an expert at communicating environmental issues through his videos and photography and his blog, but this latest project is taking things to a whole new level. So Geoff, we're super excited to talk to you about this today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, tēnā kōrua, Emma and Ben. It's a real honour to be back on the show, and kia ora to whoever's out there listening, tuning in. Good on you for checking in with the Lentil podcast. I'm a huge fan.
So basically, you just said hi to all our mums and maybe a couple of friends on the side. Geoff, I know it's been a whirlwind time. We were actually scheduled to our listeners behind the scenes prior to this recording, but you're on the road, you're out doing what you're doing. But for those that haven't listened to that first interview that we had, let's remind our guests, tell us a little bit about yourself. They can go back to the original podcast, but just in a sort of brief synopsis, who is Geoff Reid and what does he do?
Well, I feel very privileged as a human being to call this part of the world home, Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I feel the responsibility and, I have a lot of passion towards wanting to see us protect it. And I share my skills with the world in the form of video and photo, and trying to raise awareness and put pressure on our agencies that we need, and to have a good, healthy environment, and to try and lift our game as a nation to do a lot better, and in the sense of protecting our natural world and the things that give us as people of this land our identity. The things that that are special to us, our natural heritage. That's what I'm here to protect.
So we'll talk about the project that we're going to get into, but tell us a little bit about some of the other work that you're involved in, some of the campaigns, and you work alongside quite a number of organizations. You create a lot of content around that. Tell us some of the projects that you've been involved in more recently, and what you are currently involved with as well.
Yeah, so recently I've been involved in some forest protection campaigns. So we have a big problem in this country with the Australian possums eating our forest canopy, and in fact many introduced animals destroying biodiversity every day and every night. And we have a lot of forest left. Well, not in comparison, we've probably only got 15% of our original forest cover in this country left, but there are still quite vast areas of national parks, and these require a lot of work to keep them alive, to keep these ecosystems functioning. As we find better ways and better technology to get on top of invasive species, we're losing birds and plants at a rate of knots, and yeah, I've been involved in trying to raise the profile for some of our main forests in the last few years, and successfully have seen some big control operations going on. I'm a vegan myself, so it's quite hard to sort of get people to come to grips with the fact that we need to control animals. You get sort of, some people see it as speciesism, but it is a reality. If we want to have all our native birds and our native insects and our native reptiles and our trees and the whole ecosystem, we have to do something, and quite quickly. So that's been something I've been quite involved with. The drones opened up a whole new window of advocacy material, because now we can get into the heart of the forest and have a look at the canopy and the health of the trees, and that can be brought forward to the public quickly. And that's been something I've been quite passionate about. Also, agriculture, as we all know, especially in this part of the world, has been pushed to its limits. We're at peak cow, and that means our waterways suffer, our animals suffer, and our human health is suffering. So, I've taken it on as a duty to also make people aware of what's going on, and put pressure on our so-called leaders to help bring about the change that we need. So that's around freshwater protection and animal rights, animal welfare, and forest stuff. It's a little bit of ocean advocacy. We've been doing a bit of filming around bottom trawling recently, so working on something in the background there. But I think that answers your question.
And Bay of Islands as well, the seawall. I think that was a successful campaign that you were involved with.
Yeah, that was a neat one. Plans to put in a marina in an area where the bottlenose dolphin are known to breed, and it's just quite a nice beach, really, waterfront pie here. So the government had put I think they put about $15 million towards a campaign without getting the community's backing. So I helped lead my voice up there, and put together a bit of a documentary, or a bit of a video, really, and highlighting some of the points of view from the local kaumātua and the kaitiaki. And as a result, we've managed to help get the community support up and behind the campaign, and as a result, the plans have been chucked out. So it just shows what you can do when you rally the troops, and everyone comes together and speaks out and tells the council, no, we don't actually want that. So I do see a lot of hope, and it's also frustrating because you see a lot of issues, and we do have a toolbox, and I'm still learning the best ways to apply pressure, but it is frustrating. You see a lot of things happening, and it's like, there's a solution to everything. And it's just about trying to get the people aware and awake and active, and we can move forward into the more beautiful world that we know is possible.
Well, I think for a lot of people who aren't as well versed at all the issues, this would actually come as a bit of a shock. At least from the outside looking in, as an Aussie, we're exposed to, the 100% pure New Zealand campaign, and you're always getting the clean and green images of beautiful forests and waterways, and it just looks so pristine. It is a shock to a lot of people that the state of the natural environment in Aotearoa at the moment is not what it appears on the surface, and your images paint a very different picture. So it's really important work that you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. It's hard to actually remember that. People still kind of get sucked into that greenwashing, and those lies, because when you're in it every day and you're out there and you're seeing it every day, you kind of forget that the public have been led to believe that everything's kosher. And we know we wiped out our whales. We know we logged all of our Cody forest. We know we did a lot of bad things in this country back in the day, and we drained a lot of wetlands, and we're still draining a lot of wetlands. But the way I like to remind people is that we didn't just do all that bad stuff, like our forebearers did all this to get us to where we are now. It wasn't like there was a clear line in the sand where we decided, we don't do that anymore. We're still causing great harm to our environment, and as a result to ourselves. And it's just, death by 1,000 cuts. And if you know what to look for, you can see it. When you read the landscape, you can see where the wetlands should be, or where they are, or where they're being grazed by animals. You can see where the hills are, denuded of their native forest, and the sediments coming down and getting into the waterways and choking up our estuaries or lakes, or getting into our seabeds and choking up our reefs. So, I mean, the trained eye can see a lot more than the postcard images that Pure New Zealand try and market to the world. But yeah, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. And I mean, we said this in the last episode with you, but you do a really brilliant job of conveying the size and the scale of these issues, but also imparting that sense of urgency that we should all be feeling, because I think that's something that's lost sometimes when you're just reading stats and figures on paper. And that's where the visual mediums like really shine. To see the actual effects on screen can be quite compelling and confronting, but also motivating, which brings us to your latest project. So the documentary that you've been working on so hard is launching into the world soon. Ben and I were lucky enough to get a sneak peek, and it's just absolutely visually breathtaking. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, firstly, I teamed up with a documentary filmmaker, Tim Firkin, and he's really, really talented, both behind the lens and also editing. And also with another friend, Grant Nicholson. He's an animator. And we decided to take a look at the Bay of Plenty. Now, this is a region that's got, this is actually our most wealthiest region. We've got the ports of Tauranga. They bring in 110 or 111 million dollars net profit per year, and we just wanted to take a look into the region and see what kind of environmental disasters were going on, see how hard the industry is pushing the landscape, be it forestry, kiwi fruit, or dairy farming, or whatever else. And yeah, spent a fair few weeks going around there now filming, and what we found is quite alarming and quite shocking, really. And I think the people that are sitting on our regional council ought to be extremely embarrassed at the state of the region and the lack of action to do anything about it, despite knowing exactly what is going on and the implications that the repercussions that this level of pollution is having on our endemic species, our ecosystems, our estuaries, our rivers, lakes, our forests, and our people. So it's very alarming, and I didn't know what to expect going into the Bay of Plenty, but it's sure is a lot clearer to me now where the failures lie. So yeah, I hope with this documentary, firstly, people can get a sense of scale and of the beauty, but also the laggards and the industries that are doing some serious damage, but also see where the pressure needs to be applied and where the failures are within our what we call the regulators, the agencies, such as the regional council, or the local government, or even central government around DOC, and that there's pressure to be applied to these bureaucrats. They're not the polluters, but they are in office to help make sure that doesn't happen. So yeah, this is Toitū Te Whenua, and I really look forward to it coming out in a few weeks' time. Yeah.
So as Emma mentioned, we've had I think we were the first ones externally to watch this, and I watched this on my 5K screen yesterday. And as someone who appreciates good cinematography, Geoff is absolutely stunning. Absolutely love the animation too. So you certainly have a fantastic team together. But it was also extremely sobering and really frustrating. And I think we spoke offline a little bit about, or maybe it's on the phone call actually while you were driving to our interview, about the benefits of drones and, the perspective that drone footage offers. And like you say, use it a lot for your advocacy work. But being able to chuck a drone up in the sky really gives you a sense of scale. Because, just put it up 150 meters up high and you already can see the immense, well, in some respect, damage that's occurring. But tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you would have had during this filming in terms of accessibility, in terms of finding the right people to engage with, to talk to, and so on. Clearly wasn't that easy.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot of people that are at the point where they are ready to speak up and speak out, despite what their industry or their peers or people that are involved in certain practices might think of them. I feel like we're at a tipping point. So it wasn't too hard to find people willing and keen to lend their voice towards these very serious issues. Filming is always a challenge, and I know most filmmakers will agree with me. You've got one lens and one entire landscape, and it's really hard to capture the scale, and or even to capture the beauty and to put across to the viewer. So we were constantly keeping that in mind, wanting to shoot everything at the best quality, but also to capture the essence of what it is that we're trying to share with people. So that's always a challenge. And you're right. Drones have definitely opened up a whole new world for advocacy, and it's neat to see around the country more and more people acquiring drones, capturing what's going on in their backyards, and sharing the footage and sending it through. So it's always neat to see more and more people coming online and wanting to help spread the word.
And I mean, the focus is the Bay of Plenty region, but is the doco still relevant to other areas in New Zealand, or maybe even further abroad for the Aussies that are listening? Can this be related to environmental issues elsewhere?
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. So we have in this country, we have central government, and then we have local governments, so regional councils. These are made up of democratically elected individuals that sit up on the council, and obviously they've got a whole bureaucracy that the taxpayers fund, and these are to make sure that our infrastructure and public assets are looked after, but also to make sure that our environmental standards and our values are upkept, and our environment's looked after. And there's a really serious issue going on in this country, and that is these agencies, which are supposed to regulate industries, captured, and these we call them the regulators. So it's basically it's regulatory capture and regulatory failure happening on a national scale. There's social conflict of interest within these regional councils. There's pecuniary conflict of interest, and there's no penalty for councils when they fail to implement laws, or when they do not comply with what they should be. And this is a big problem. This is why we continue to see pollution ending up in our waterways. We continue to see our biodiversity diminishing, and we continue to see animals being harmed. And this is the big problem that needs addressing.
And I mean, obviously, we want people to watch and support your amazing work, so don't give it all away here. But what are some of the key messages you're hoping people take away from this film, and what can people start actioning? Is it about approaching local councils and keeping them more accountable, or, what are you hoping people do after watching?
Yeah, definitely. Like for me, I want people to understand what's going on, and I mean, it might sound wishy-washy to talk about the issue, but that's the only thing that gets changed,
Yeah.
You have industry lobby groups, so NGOs that represent beef and lamb or Dairy NZ, and these are very powerful groups. They get their way into council. They'll place people in on the regional councils at that high governance level, and this is why we don't see compliance on these industries when they are failing us. And we have massive problem with nitrates going into our drinking water, massive problem with sediment, animal effluent waste, E. coli ending up in our food supply, in our estuaries. And the council are it's a huge difference on how they go after different industries. If there was a spill at the port, they're gonna come down really hard on the ships or whatever happened. If there's a big problem within the forestry, the regional council is going to be pretty heavy on it. But usually when it's dairy farming, we're seeing in the Bay of Plenty, we're seeing unlined effluent ponds. We're seeing effluent ponds being dumped into streams and ending up in our waterways. We're seeing forest collapse happening. We're seeing the spread of invasive weeds, and there's a lot of things. Basically there's no fear of apprehension for these industries or these groups that have successfully captured the regulator. So there are quite a lot of hard hitting or depressing clips. Aerial clips in the foot. Oh, sorry. We know that there are kind of some quite contentious pieces of footage that have made their way into the documentary. But there's also some really positive aspects to how we move forward and how we get the train back on its rails and head in the right direction. But the strong point that I'd like people to take home is that other industries, normal businesses, they get punished for destroying the environment. Like if you're a factory and you're spilling out toxins out of your vents or something because you don't want to buy the right filters, the council or the pollution authorities are gonna come down pretty hard on you. It's different for industries that have successfully captured the agencies, and Bay of Plenty Regional Council is just an example for many regional councils as to how the system that we need people to trust and rely on has rot and is allowing these polluting industries to get away with what they're doing and continue without any repercussions for their actions. And normal business pays their way, so why shouldn't the farming industry also have to do the same? Usually they deny, defend and deflect, and then they put their hands out and they demand others to pay for cleaning up their mess. When it comes to cleaning up the lakes or cleaning up the estuaries. And this isn't really fair, when other industries and other businesses pay their way. So there's a big imbalance, and a big take home from this documentary for people is to, I think, just be mindful about how our systems that we really need, we need to have these agencies for the better world. It's a beautiful thing having a regional council to look after our environment and our people. And we don't want to erode trust in them, but we want to make sure we can trust them. And for that to happen, the rot at the top, they need to be accountable.
And it's important to note that this is an example of many councils or government sort of organizations and so on. It's not picking on the Bay of Plenty region. This is simply an example of here in New Zealand, but globally. I mean, let's be honest, Australia is probably the same thing with a lot of councils, and globally, where there's big industry interest, we know that they have their ways of safeguarding their own interests. And also, what also works in their favor, unfortunately, is that you gave the example of, say, there's a spill in the port. Well, everyone's going to see it. Everyone's going to know about it. Forestry has a big issue, logs, or what do you call it, the slash, that ends up down the rivers. We see it. The problem with the pollution from intensive dairy grazing and so on, we don't see it. Mike Joy commonly says, if the rivers turned red because of the high nitrate levels, then we'd all be up in arms. But that's unfortunately in their favor because we don't see it. It's not as prevalent. And a lot of it, as again, no spoilers, but it's pretty much common knowledge now. And you've shown this in the film as well. It's a lot of what happens is now hidden away. It's off the main street. It's out the back. So we don't, as general public, see it. And that's what drones are able to now offer us in terms of that perspective. So
for sure, yeah. No, you said that well. Yeah, and I think we're privileged to live in a country where we have national laws and standards that are put in place to protect our environment and these natural, some people refer to them as resources or the abundance that our natural world provides. And it sounds really good. It looks really good that we've got all these laws and policies in place, but then they're just not being enforced most of the time, and we're gradually losing what we love and what we have to pollution and other environmental damages. And where the rules aren't enforced, it's normally because, I'll say it again, because of a powerful player or an industry lobby group that is able to muscle the regulator. And this is pretty obvious in the fishing industry, in the forestry industry, in the farming, fertilizer industries that are all responsible for vast amounts of degradation. And other groups can be seen taking money for which was supposed to go towards conservation and redirecting it in ways that see poor environmental outcomes. But the fact that we don't see positive changes when we're highly capable of making them just goes to show that there is some serious rot in our system. And we must be aware of our government agencies and regional councils being hijacked by these power players, by these polluters, so that they can defeat these rules that are in place. There's the greed and power of these lobbyists is used to influence these government agencies, and the result is that the efforts of so many people to preserve our environment are cut off. These efforts are discredited, they're shut down, and our communities and community groups and people with the law on our side really struggle to push back.
You talk a lot about accountability here, and I know, at least in Australia, from the agricultural sector, there's always pushback against green tape because they won't be able to, do their job profitably. And again, I don't want to give too much away in the film, but you put forward other options in the film that have a positive outcome for farmers, for the environment, for animals, for profitability. So it's not just it's not shutting down the industry by holding these people accountable to a standard, is it? There is another way forward that's better all round.
Definitely. I mean, change is scary for the most part for anyone. When change is on the horizon, no one knows what it's going to look like after that. But there are some real leaders in this country that are trying new things, and we're slowly starting to see some big changes. Even with when you have a really big dairy herd, you can take some of the, you can shave off some of the size, and that means that you don't have a whole lot more inputs. So you're not putting as much fertilizer on. You're not bringing as much palm kernel in from Indonesia, and your irrigation, or all your overheads go down, and that might not mean you make as much profit. That might not mean you make as much product, as much milk, but you can make more profit. But this is not what the system's designed for. The banks and the Fonterra, they're going for maximum milk, and it's at all costs. The way I see it, the farmers are under a lot of pressure to keep up with this model that's just built on growth. And when you're at peak cow, a lot of the time it means if you degrowth, if you go back a bit, it can actually be more profitable. But yeah, I still do advocate for different and better things to be done with our land, with our whenua, and I'm sure we've got enough smart enough people in this country, and we're already seeing it. We're already seeing some great innovation. It's just we have to try and encourage land stewards and land users to have a look what other people are doing, trying things differently, and take the footprint, take the impact off the landscape, so that we can start to heal ourselves and our land at the same time.
Speaking of whenua, how important is it? And this can be applied anywhere. This question, I guess, is how important is the engagement of Indigenous knowledge?
Oh, I mean, it's very important, and the people that have the connection to the land, they see the changes, and they're to be listened to. And a lot of the time, those are farmers. Farmers are out there. They're farming with the elements, and when it comes to restoring the place, there are people with their ear to the ground that they do have a lot of wisdom there. So it's not about isolating people. It's about bringing everyone together to try and formulate a new way. And Indigenous knowledge is definitely a big part of that.
So how can people watch the film then? You've got some screenings coming up?
Yeah, we've got a couple of screenings coming up in the Bay of Plenty. So on the 18th, we'll be in Tauranga at the Trustpower Arena. It's at 6 o'clock at the stadium, and we'll be in motion to entertainment in Rotorua on the 19th, 6 o'clock. Both will be followed by a question and answer panel with some pretty smart people, so come along. There'll also be a screening in Christchurch on the 20th, and we're looking at doing a few other screenings potentially at a couple of different universities. So if people go to Toitū Te Whenua,
we'll have the link in the show notes.
Okay, sweet. And then if they register their email in there, then they'll get updated when there's screenings on. Otherwise, you can check out my socials or jump on my mailing list or flick me an email or something, and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and if you're interested, people, get in contact with Geoff because you can host a screening as well, I believe.
Yeah, that'll be neat. Yeah, it's about 45 minutes long.
And well worth the watch. Now, we should have perhaps spoken about this at the start as part of your intro and all the work you do, but I'm going to ask about the action we can take, and we've kind of covered that already. But let's go back to some other work and other campaign work that you have done where you've had a big success, because it's all interrelated, right? It all amounts to the same objective, especially in terms of this film that you're putting out. But in terms of the mud farming, which I think we spoke about in the first episode, or our first conversation that we had in our previous episode, but you've had a fairly big... It's kind of hard because you said yourself, it's hard to kind of celebrate these things. Is there something to celebrate? But you've had quite a significant outcome with a lot of that campaign that you did recently.
Yeah, we have. So we've seen the government, our farms, the Pāmu, which is Landcorp, which is owned by it's a state-owned enterprise. They're a big farmer. They got a few 100,000 hectares that they manage animals on, and we've seen them recently come forward to commit to not doing mud farming on one of their farms in particular. So I'm keen to see if that relates to the rest of their operations. But this is a really positive outcome, when that's played on Country Calendar as a direct result of our campaign work and the pressure that we've put on the government fund farms to exit this practice. And it's win-win for the farmers. No one wants to have all their gumboots sucked off in the mud and be pulling calves out of the mud, and so I'm really, really pleased to see that. And at the moment, we're putting a bit of pressure on McDonald's, and we're hoping for them to do the right thing and exit mud farming. But there's a lot of people wanting to take things a lot further and go international with a big campaign targeting McDonald's, because they are a big contributor of this this mess that we're in. I think it's 3 billion cheese patties that McDonald's purchases per year out of Eltham, one of the cheese factory down in Taranaki. And that's a lot of cheese, 3 billion burgers worth of cheese, and that's just McDonald's. They also buy, I think it's 60,000 tons of Angus beef, and they say it's grass-fed beef, but this is such a lie. They really are misleading the public, and the advertising authorities are looking into it. And we're hoping that McDonald's will do the right thing here and demand that their supply chain differentiates between what comes from a mud farm and what comes from an ordinary farm. And we'd like to see McDonald's obviously switch to a full plant-based diet to relieve our landscapes, but it's baby steps. And I think if we can go for a win in the interim, ending mud farming is a big one. So we're continuing to put pressure on McDonald's, but we're hopeful that they'll do the right thing pretty quickly. Otherwise, we know how to campaign, and we're not going to stop campaigning. And I know it is a pain in the ass when campaigns go international and people start to find out what's going on down here in little old New Zealand, Aotearoa. So, yeah.
But it just shows the value, though, that there are ways of getting involved. We always talk about it in most of our episodes. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? There's a lot we can do, and simple little things. Even by signing a petition is the start of it, because there might be a petition coming from one of your campaigns, and you need the signatures to show that there's support for a change in a system or something. So it is actually quite easy. It just depends how involved one wants to get, but little change. And like you say, Geoff, baby steps, that's a step in the right direction. We've got our ultimate goal, but if that's already a change, the land will benefit. And if the land benefits, then our people benefits, So it's every little change is positive. You show that in your documentary as well. It's something, not everything ever is going to be ideal, but any change is welcomed. And I think that's super important.
For sure, Ben. Yeah, we can't lose hope, and we can't lose our integrity. We have to fight for what we believe in. And petitions, they certainly are a really helpful tool when you can get a few thousand signatures quite quickly for an issue and take that to our leaders, our so-called leaders. It's a lot of pressure, and it definitely helps nudge the wheel. But also, I think it's quite overlooked. But the only thing that really does bring about change is what we're doing right now. Talking about issues, and the more we talk about things, the more people talk about those things, and we're interconnected to each other, but also to our whenua, to the land. And when we talk about things, that's the first step, and then it's the doing, then it's what action can we take. But yeah, keeping the awareness up and keeping these issues in the forefront of our minds, and having a clear focus and a clear outcome is what I strive to do better at.
No, amazing, Geoff. Look, we always say it, and your name pops up every now and again in other conversations, but you do so much important work. You're the one with the big kahunas here. You're the one that gets out there. You're the one that puts yourself on the front line. So nice to see some of those big risks that you take, and you put yourselves out there, that it pays off, and it pays off for our benefit. So firstly, thank you, not just for coming onto the show, for having a little bit of a yarn, but actually more importantly for the amazing work that you do. This documentary, when it's released next month in October, it's a must-see. If you're in the areas, Tauranga, Rotorua, and Christchurch, at least we know there's dates already. Get to those screenings, support, because just going there is also supporting the work that Geoff does, which means he'll get onto his next project sooner. Geoff, thank you so much for your time. Welcome back home. You've been on the road. Enjoy your rest. Good luck with your next campaigns, and we look forward to having you back on the show again at some point. So thanks so much, Geoff.
Hey, Emma and Ben, I can't wait. I can't wait to tune in again. And thanks so much for hosting me on your channel, and letting me talk about the things that I get up to, and hopefully to help inspire others to take action. But anyone listening, if you want to get in touch, please do. I really encourage getting in touch if you want to either host a screening, or if you've got something going on in your backyard. And we're just quietly, we're working on a bit of an app to help consolidate all the different issues that are going on. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please do get in touch.
And I think important to say, if someone's out there with a bit of money and wants to support Geoff, Geoff certainly welcomes a bit of funding, because I know that Geoff really does do a lot of this literally on a handful of pennies. So support him any way you can. Geoff, again, thank you so much.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Cheers.
Kia ora.
Thank you for listening to the Lentil Intervention Podcast. If you found this interesting, make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends.